Alright guys, Son of Anarchy 26 here, back to give you another DVD review. Or I'm sorry, VHS review. This one will be for WCW Sold Out 2000. In the main event here, we had Kevin Nash versus Terry Funk in a no disqualification match. These guys actually put on a pretty decent match. You know, Terry Funk in a no disqualification match, that's where he shines. And they put up a pretty good brawl here, and actually made for a decent main event. You know, I won't say that it was one of the better main events I've seen, but he actually made for a decent main event. In the undercard, we saw brother versus brother, which was Booker T versus Stevie Ray, and in my opinion, Stevie Ray would have never made it into the professional wrestling business if it hadn't been for Booker T. Stevie Ray is not the best performer. He really doesn't impress me at all. You also had Diamond Dallas Page versus Buff Bagwell, which had a pretty good build-up leading up to it. You know, there have been things said about Buff Bagwell and Kimberly Page, which is DDP's wife, having some sort of affair or whatever, you know. Off screen, these guys had apparently been having a little more than a friendship. You know, I'm not sure if that was all kayfabe or whatever, but according to WCW, these guys had some sort of little affair behind DDP's back, which, you know, whenever it comes to that kind of stuff, you could always count on it being a pretty decent match with a lot of physicality and things of that nature. You also saw a fatal four-way hardcore match, which included Norman Smiley versus Ming versus Brian Knobbs versus Fit Finlay, and these guys are all pretty good hardcore wrestlers, with the exception of Norman Smiley. He was another one of those wrestlers that never impressed me really. But the rest of those guys, you could imagine that they would be pretty good when it came to duking it out in some sort of no disqualification match. You had a cruiserweight title match, which was an intergender match with Oklahoma, which was that dirtbag Jim Ross wannabe. You know, he wore his hat and they, you know, tried to make him like he had cerebral palsy like Jim Ross, which I think is just total disrespect by the WCW and completely uncalled for, especially in the year 2000 when the ratings war wasn't really what it had used to be. You know, the underhanded tricks and stuff like that was one thing when it was actually a big competition between the WCW and the WWF. But in the year 2000, that stuff had all kind of died down because it was clear the WWF was winning this ratings war. You know, and he faced off against Medusa, which, whatever, I really have no respect for women wrestlers, especially these days. For the most part, they're just there for looks. And, you know, Medusa used several of her friends to help her gain a victory in this match to be the women's cruiserweight champion, if you will. 1 second, let me take a look here and see, make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, the World Heavyweight Championship match: Sid Vicious versus Chris Benoit. The title had to be vacated because of Bret Hart's career-ending concussion, which to this day is one of the worst things that could have happened to wrestling. Bret Hart having to retire is absolutely terrible for the sport because he is about as good as it gets when it comes to being a good wrestler. He is capable of putting on a good match every single time he steps to those ring ropes. And Goldberg giving him a career-ending concussion the month before at Starrcade in the Battle in the Millennium is just a travesty in professional wrestling. So this is another one of those VHSs that, you know, I just threw out some kind of crazy bid for it on eBay, and I ended up getting it really cheap, just like Super Brawl 8. You know, I bid less than $10 on it, and you could tell by looking at it, you know, you got a little bit of wear on the corners, which is absolutely non-avoidable unless you're talking about buying a brand new VHS, which are ridiculously expensive. But as you look all around the edge of this VHS, you know, you see a little bit more wear here on this corner, a very slight crease here, which might be a half-inch long. You know, it's nothing really. And there's no stickers on the box. If I'm not mistaken, there's no stickers on the tape itself, so I'm not even sure that this was a former rental. But even on the backside, you know, you got just a little bit of wear here on the corners. But as far as the rest of the VHS goes, it is in like new condition. So I hope you enjoyed this review of WCW Sold Out 2000. You know, WCW had less than a year left whenever this event happened, which, you know, clearly they had no idea about. But this really is one of the better events that took place in the year 2000. So if you could find it at a decent price, it's one that I'd recommend. Thanks. Son of Anarchy 26 signing out.